Hello, and welcome to the Voices and Stories podcast hosted by me, Kafuki Jada. It's amazing to have you back here again and watching. If you're watching us for the very first time, we want to also welcome you, and hopefully you continue to watch our other episodes of the podcast and Voices Stories. Today, we have a very special guest. He is an author. He's also known for his short story writings, and he authored many books, including Matata, The White House. He also is known for his journal, The South Sudan, which is a short story. He is a poet, and but he's also known for his reporting, his work in literature, and also communications. Well, by now, I guess you have known who we are going to be having on this episode. That is none other than Victor Lugala. Victor Lugala, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, to today's edition or episode of the Voices and Stories. I already did a brief introduction, but of course I want to give you this time to also maybe tell us who you are and introduce yourself as well.
Okay, let me do it my own way. I was born after a long struggle, and that's why they call me Lugala, which means I ended my parents' struggle to look for a child. And so I was their victory, and hence I became Victor Lugala. And I was born out of turmoil, and in times of turmoil. And like any other South Sudanese, we've been moving up and down. I've lived here, I've lived other places. I've lived in Tanzania, I've lived in Kenya, I lived in Uganda, so I'm a proper East African. As you did the introduction, I am a journalist by profession, and I've worked in communication. I've worked in radio. We are actually the pioneers of Sudan Radio Service back in 2003, when it was the first independent radio station, but outside Sudan. We used to broadcast from Nairobi, and before it moved to Juba, which is now iRadio. Journalism is what puts food on the table, but I like literature as well. And because I'm a very private person, I most cases keep to myself, or I am lonely, and when I'm lonely, I write. So writing is company for me. It is also therapy. You know, we have gone through a lot of trauma in this country. So creative writing offers therapy for me. So as you said, I've written some books. I started with The Pot of Tears, which is a collection of poems, and then followed by Beating the Drums of War, which is also a collection of poems, then followed by Vomiting Stolen Food, which is a slim volume, but it was very incisive because that was a time when people were coming back from the war, and it was more a satirical piece. Then I also wrote White House, which was the first post-war novella, which talked about the crisis of 1992, when many people were slaughtered in Juba here. I was not here, by the way, but of course, in literature, you don't have to observe and see what is there, but I pieced it together, and it was a work of fiction. Then Matata, which is the last one now. Not the last, but the latest that I published. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is the collection of what I do, and I just continue writing poetry. I write short stories. Yeah.
Well, that is really amazing. And I think a comprehensive introduction into your work and what you have done. You've mentioned a few things that I was like, okay, when you are done, then I can maybe bring them up. You mentioned that your name is Lugala, which means you've been looked for.
Yeah,
oh, you're born
searching.
After a struggle.
Yeah, they were searching for, Gagala, to search. When two parents take long to have a child, and when the child responds, then the child is called Lugala if it is a boy. If it is a girl, it is either Gala, yes, Gala. Yeah, no, not Gala. Anyway, but let me speak for myself.
Yeah, for yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it took that long, and they said, okay, now we've been looking. He's the answer now.
Yeah.
So they called me Lugala. But also they sometimes if they want to use pet name, they just say Gala.
Gala. Looked for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a short for Lugala.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you the only child?
We're three.
You're three.
Yeah, but I'm the first. I was the one who opened the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Without me, the others would have not come.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my follower is a girl who is a woman now, and then the last one is a boy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we are three,
You're three.
which is good. Yeah. But of course, people are not satisfied in those days when people wanted more children. But I think three was fair enough.
It was fair enough. I mean, since you're a writer and you write about many things in to do with South Sudan, we know you for your opinions on South Sudan because you put them into writings. Maybe we can even start by there. Like, why is it that South Sudan culture always wants more children? And from your view as a writer, do you think that is okay, or is it like, because it's an African thing to want to have a lot of children, and it's also like it puts pressure on people. What do you think about that generally?
Well, it is there is a misguided concept that because we have lost so many people in the wars, so we have to populate the environment. But at whose cost? You may have 7 children today, but can you feed them? Can you send them to school? Can you provide for their medical needs? Can you afford to clothe them? So it is becoming a problem, although people still feel that they should have many children. And the excuse, as they say, is, we have lost so many children, people during the war, millions, 2 million, 2.5, and counting. So they say, we should have more children. And it's very strange because even now, as I speak, it's not even about children. Younger people of your age are marrying 2 wives, 3 wives, which means it's not only multiplying wives, but also having more children. Because if you have 2, 3 wives, how many children will you have when you reach the age of 50, 60, 70? Because the average may be 5, not so, or 4. So you'll have not less than a dozen in a family.
In a family, yes.
Yeah, which is.
I think the real question is around at whose cost. That is really something to consider, because this is a challenge we're having in South Sudan. As families continue to struggle economically, it's like you're planning to have many children, but how are these children going to survive? How are they going to go to school? How are they going to access healthcare? All these things. I think these are things. Yeah, it makes a lot of
and I think
sense when you
it
look
is
at the
because
cost.
also husband and wife don't sit to decide. In Juba now, you find if you go to a family, say around 3, you'll find it is only children and women who are in the home. The husbands are not there. They're either taking tea somewhere or having their clubs. They come late when the children have slept, and the woman is even almost asleep. They don't have time to discuss, how many children should we have right from the beginning when you get married? How many children should we have? Then you decide. You make a decision from the beginning. Or should we have many children? And sometimes, if it is the wife who initiates that discussion, the husband may dismiss. That's why family planning is a big issue in this country, because some men don't want limitation in the having children. So sometimes women will just sneak out to the clinic to have those pills or family planning means, so that they can have at least a few children or have a breathing space, so to speak. Yeah.
All right. Now let's get into your work. We know you've done a lot of literature, including the conversation around should South Sudanese writings be in English or should it be in Arabic? That is a discussion I believe was had before. What is your take when it comes to South Sudan literature, writings, poems, arts? Do you feel like language matters here in Juba, in South Sudan? Does language really matter which direction we take?
Self-expression does not choose a language. You don't say, "Oh, I'm going to write in English," when you don't know English. You cannot say, "I'm going to write in Arabic," if you don't know Arabic. But now the medium of expression here in South Sudan is English. Use the language that you are fluent in. If you are fluent in your mother tongue, please write it, and then it will be translated. But now some people are just forcing themselves to write in a certain language that they don't know. Because writing really is about mastering the language of communication. You are going to write, you are going to sing, even the music that we are hearing now. For music, it is automatic. Who is the audience? It's people who understand you. You sing in Arabic, you sing in simple Arabic, people will understand you. Just like what Emmanuel Kembe is doing. Everybody understands Emmanuel Kembe's music. But if you write in Arabic, like what Stella Gaetano is doing, Stella Gaetano is one of our South Sudanese ladies who was born in Khartoum and lived there, studied there. She writes in Arabic. Then it is being translated into, I think, recently her short stories were translated into German, I think. Yeah. So the thing is, in South Sudan, our medium of communication is English. So if you want to reach a wider audience, you have to choose the language of the audience and the language that you are comfortable in. If English is our language, then we write in English. But can we reach a wider audience? I don't know. But there are translators also who can do the translation from English to Arabic, or vice versa. Because now, really, if you look at the newspapers here in Juba, most of them are in English. There are about one or two in Arabic. So it is the same thing as writing. And the people who write or who read in Arabic, the number is, I think, dwindling, because Arabic is not taught in schools since independence, except maybe in the university.
Yes.
Yeah, but so if you are going to write in Arabic, nobody's going to read your work.
In the future, I think this is looking at it in the future.
That's right.
Yeah. As of now, there are many people who understand Arabic, especially simple Arabic. But in the future of South Sudan to come, because people now use English and generations that are coming, they're all being taught in English. So the language of self-expression to them is going to be English, mother tongue, or Arabic. I think it's a huge conversation. It's a huge debate in the
Also, want to
language.
point out something. Those who are reading in Arabic are the best readers. This is what I've learned.
Meaning they're the best readers.
They read a lot. They read literature. If it is anything to do with the literary activities, the Arabic speakers or people who went to Arabic schools tend to
pick up.
Yeah, to go. For instance, recently during the World Poetry Day, the majority were Arabic speakers. But they were very enthusiastic because it is their background, I think. In schools in Khartoum, they used to teach poetry. But the people who are studying in English, the reading culture is dropping. It is declining.
Reading literature, books, short stories.
Yes, people don't read. Somebody will say, "Oh, I feel lazy." Like Matata now. I don't think many people have read. Even if you give it to somebody free, they will not read it.
Yeah. It's a challenge. But I think also this is because Arabic is such a beautiful language for poem. I think that's why when World Poetry Day happens, a lot of the poets come up to be Arabic, because Arabic in poetry, they tend to come close, according to me. This is a personal opinion. I enjoy poems in Arabic.
Any language is beautiful. And you can write poetry in your own language and make it beautiful. It is the writer who makes a poem beautiful or a story beautiful. People like Rabindranath Tagore, the Indian poet. He wrote in Indian, I mean the Hindu rather.
Hindu
Yeah,
language, yes.
and any language is beautiful. But yes, I agree with you that poetry in Arabic is beautiful. Even the Quran is more poetic.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is the introduction to poetry and to literature that has endeared the Arabic speakers to enjoy literature in Arabic. Unlike our people who are reading in English, or children who went to schools in East Africa, I don't know what the problem is. Maybe you have to tell me, because you belong to that generation where the reading culture is declining.
Yes. I think because a lot of us have become visual, with TV, social media, I was reading something on people's attention span. They're saying a lot of the things that get people's attention is usually short things. People don't like prolonged things. They want something is happening in the background, perhaps. What we're engaging with. People want short clips, short stories. They don't want anything that takes time, because I think they feel like they can do something else, something like that. But people are now leaning towards short stories, short clips. They don't want prolonged things. Even watching a podcast episode that goes for 1 hour, somebody from my generation can tell you that they cannot watch something for 1 hour. They want something 30 minutes, 20 minutes. They don't want something long. And I think even it translates to reading as well. People just feel like if it's a lot, they are unmotivated to read it. But yes, there's a decline. There's a
I
huge
think it
decline.
requires discipline, because for you to become a good reader, you have to really task your mind and say, I'm going to read this. If you're going to read philosophy, there's no shortcut to it and say, I'm just going to read something small like this. No, you really have to sit down and read. And people have become lazy, to be honest. The current generation, people have become so lazy. And not only that, it is because also people are inundated with information. You have all manner of media today, including TikTok, which has actually enslaved people. If
And
there's
TikTok comprises of very short clips.
yeah, and not only just short, but they're humorous.
Yes.
Because now, if you you have problems and you are stressed, but you just watch something, you laugh at something that doesn't make sense even, and you're okay. So I think it is the inundation with the information. There's information, a lot of information in the world today. So which one do you choose? Which one do you lose? I mean, do you leave? So you just pick something the medium that you say, oh, maybe TikTok is the best for me. And again, there's social media. You have to Facebook, Instagram, and so on. And some people have accounts all over the place. They have to respond to this, they have to respond to that. And so where will you get the time to read? So until you shed off some of those habits, that you can settle down to read. But there's a lot that you can get from reading a book.
What do you think makes a good reader? Like, what makes a person become a good reader, a person who can develop a discipline or habit into reading? First of all, how can they do that? How would you encourage someone to read more, especially South Sudan literature, because our focus is on South Sudan literature, South Sudan books, and just studying more. So how would you encourage someone to do that?
They say catch them when they are young. In some schools, they give children books, like children's books. And in some countries, they have their own writers of children's books. We don't have them here, do we? They are not there. So children have to be given books, and the teachers also have to be good readers so that they can encourage the children to read books. But now I understand in secondary school, there is no literature. There is no subject of literature. Is there?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'm told there is no literature in secondary schools anymore. You only go and get it in the university. So if it is not there, people will not have the appetite, because some of us read books in primary school, in secondary school, and those books were really very good books. Some of them were classics but abridged, and the stories were, you could even tell the story after reading the book. Like, for instance, Cry, the Beloved Country. It's a story that is very touching. So the stories also have to be good for people to be hooked to reading, but they have to be encouraged to read books. Otherwise, it is a disaster. that you have illiterate people, because you go to university, they're just reading for the degree. Once they finish, they put their books down and they go to ordinary life like they went to university. So you graduate and then become illiterate again. Yeah. So reading is good, and the advantage of reading is that you can remember.
Yes.
And it keeps you alive for a long time. If you don't read, the brain dies. I'm not scientific, but anyway.
Yeah, the brain becomes dormant.
Yeah,
like
it becomes
doesn't-
dormant.
yeah.
You cannot even remember. You meet a colleague after 10, 15 years, you can't even remember the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you read a book, your memory will be jogged.
Yes. I know you write a lot of poems, you also write a lot of fictions, and you also said you're a visual art critic. We'll get to that later, but I wanted to ask you around your journalism work, because you're a journalist, you have a journalism background. How important is truth telling when speaking about South Sudan or the nation of South Sudan, or telling stories from South Sudan, or maybe even just maybe you want to you're writing and you want to express anything about South Sudan? How important is it to tell the truth?
What truth? Because truth is relevant. You know, if you are going to write about poverty in this country, very easy. Very easy, because when you get out of this studio, you encounter poverty. Poverty is visual. You can see it and you can write about it. You can talk to people in the marketplace, even when you get into public transport and you keep quiet and you're a journalist, you'll get your story there. People are talking about all these problems. Water is expensive. Beef is expensive. Some people are not eating meat for a long time. And yeah, you can write about that. But what is the cause of poverty? It's a global thing. When you write it from that point, from a global point of view, then coming down, yeah. But there's another truth that you cannot write in this country when it comes to politics. There are things that people don't want written, you know, like is there an investigative journalist in this country, really?
Not really.
Why?
It's debatable.
Yeah, because if you're looking for truth,
Yeah.
go there. But of course, it is something that it is a no-go zone almost. Because where do you start? But let me tell you, South Sudan is the best place to become an investigative journalist.
Yes.
Because information is just flying around. People are reckless with information.
Rumors.
It starts as a rumor,
Yeah.
then it becomes truth.
Yes.
You know, so a good investigative journalist can start from somewhere and search for truth, but you have to be careful in handling that truth because it can burn your fingers. Yeah.
I personally know of we actually had the pleasure of hosting him here on the episode, on one of our episodes of Voices and Stories, Dr. Adwok Nyaba. He's a South Sudanese writer. He was also in the struggle. He was fighting for South Sudan.
Yeah.
Yes, he has books that he's written, and some of his books actually are not. They're writing about the history of South Sudan from his perspective. He said he's writing from his point of view and the things that happened during his time. So some of these books contain some of information that is very accurate. It tells about the history of South Sudan. I also think there's some politicians also who have written books that talk about the history of South Sudan. If I'm not mistaken, I think Lama Cole also has a book.
He has written books.
He's written books, yes.
Yeah.
So we
Waniga.
have, yes, Wanigo also, he's written multiple books. So all these books, from a political point of view, maybe telling about the nation of South Sudan. There's some truth in those books as well. I think, yeah, from certain perspective, these are also books that are telling truth about the nation of South Sudan.
Yeah, you know, there's a difference between Adong Nyaba and journalism writing or journalistic writing, because Nyaba is a brilliant writer. He is a politician and has been in the struggle, and he really committed himself to the struggle, to the liberation of this country. And he has written some of the best books that if people read them, they will understand the problems of this country. But who is reading? His best book is his memoir, or autobiography rather, Up from the Village.
Yes.
It's a thick book, but the best. And I even told him one time, I said, of all your books, this is the best seller, so to speak, because it is written in a language that is friendly, because the other books are a bit tough for the ordinary reader. And it's a good book. I wish South Sudanese could read his books, and especially Up from the Village. I'm not promoting his books, but I'm saying,
Yes, it's also one of my favorites.
yeah, he is
It's one
a
of my
brilliant
favorites.
writer.
Yes.
People should read them. And if people want to understand the history of this country or the history of the Sudan, where we came from, they should read these books, including the books by Lama Cole and others.
Yes.
And the others who are still writing. Unfortunately, some of the books are they are repeating the same thing. There's nothing that is new. But yes, people have written books. There's, of course, Francis Deng. Francis Deng has written a lot of books, but I don't think some people have read them, because
Yes.
most of his books, most of them are academic, or the language is difficult, but they are good, well-researched books. Yeah, and he's an authority on the Dinka culture, and he's written a lot about that. So we have people who have written books, but where are the readers?
Because this is actually what inspired this podcast. When we were coming up with the idea of this podcast, it was on the thought that we have a lot of writers, we have a lot of literature in South Sudan, but we have an issue of accessibility. People are not able to access those books, one, and second, also people are not reading those books. So we wanted a platform where people can know, like, if you want to look for South Sudanese books, you want to look for South Sudanese authors, where do you go? How do you even go? So you are an author. I would also like to ask you about the issue of accessibility, and where usually when you write books, when you write your stories, how do you distribute them? How do you disseminate them? Where do you put them, and how can people also access them?
Well, a writer doesn't distribute books. That is the work of the publisher. A real publisher, if you go through a real publisher, because these days there's a cheap way of getting a book out. People just write and rush with the manuscript to a printer who can print cards, a printer who can print textbooks or others, but it's not through a proper publisher, because it has to go through some editing, proper editing, so that the book keeps international standards of writing a book. So for you to get a publisher, we don't have publishers in South Sudan, not even one. So we have to go out. The book Matata was published in Australia, in Perth. So it is now, or it was the responsibility of the publisher to market the book, to get them ferried across oceans to Africa. And sometimes you get complimentary copies, and maybe a carton or two. It is expensive because it's not easy to sell books. So you either go through a good publisher, get the book published, then now you can get it through Amazon. You can purchase it from Amazon. And by the way, there are no bookshops now in Juba. If you have gone around the bookshops, the best bookshops that we used to know, like Leaves Bookshop, which was started by Awak, have closed down. Somebody started somewhere, it has closed down because the readers are not there. You either go for bread or go for book. Which is which?
Bread.
Yeah.
Choose bread.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's go for a short break and we shall be back. Stay tuned. This is the Voices and Stories podcast. Welcome back from that break, and you're welcome to this episode of The Voices and Stories. We have our guest here with us in the studio, that is Victor Lugala. And as we mentioned earlier, he is a media professional, he's a writer, he's a poet, and he's also a visual art critic. So we'll get to that in a moment, but I really like to take this time and just ask our guest about a short story that he's written, and it is a story from There's a Country. It's called Port Sudan. It's a journal called Port Sudan. Maybe you tell us about it more. But as I was reading this particular short story, there was something that the beginning, at the introduction, it was something that really was interesting. The whole story is actually interesting. I would advise you to go and look for it. It's by the title. I think you can just search a story from There's a Country, Port Sudan, and you'll be able to get it. It's online and it's available, I believe, for everybody to read. But yes, apart from that writing, from that short story, and it says, I pulled my small luggage closer to me. I was 25 years old, out of college, out of work. I was broke, living rough, and trying to explore the world. That black rucksack contained my few belongings: a pair of blue jeans, a brown t-shirt, flip-flops, 3 worn-out pair of boxers, shorts, a toothbrush and a comb, 5 novels, a pencil, and my diary. The diary had been a birthday present from my Ugandan friend, given to me before I did left home. It was as if he knew that one day I would be far away, wandering without a destination in mind. Behind me, I had buried my past. In front of me was an abstract painting that I was in despair. While I was still stupid enough and strong enough to do it, I was in Port Sudan looking for my uncle. That particular introduction was really strong. Like when I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is something I really like to continue reading because it resonates so much with someone who's young. And I think at that time in Sudan, that was when Sudan was still one. And he was trying to find his footings. He was out of college, he was a graduate, but he was broke. And he was trying to start a life. So I think that story, generally, when I was reading it, I was so into like the struggle. You know, the stories can be different because of the different time zones, but some of the themes can remain the same. The fact that somebody can come out of school, you can be still new, you don't have a job, you're trying to look for a job, you're still, and the part where he says, I'm still young and stupid enough to make these decisions, because it's like you still have time to do some of these things and try out to start a new life. But as I was reading, of course, there were a lot of questions that were coming in mind. One of them was, whatever happened to him? Did he ever make it? Because it's like he's looking for his uncle and he's working all these jobs in the slums, and these were low-paying jobs, and he was really struggling. So throughout the article, it was just about his struggle. He was struggling throughout, and life just kept getting worse and worse. He lost the supposed uncle that he found, which was Juma, and then he was now going to find. Oh, maybe you can tell us more about it, that particular journal.
Yeah, so that journal is a short story, a longer short story about this young man who left home and was looking forward to going maybe to Europe, stowing away, like what is happening now on this trans-Mediterranean voyages across from sub-Saharan Africa to Europe. And this was a young man who wanted really to go through Port Sudan and go to Europe, but he never, he was not able to make it because of the circumstances, because there was a coup in the country. Hope you read that one. There was a coup in the country and things were rough because he wouldn't make it. And here he was looking for his uncle, supposedly. They never met before.
Yes.
And he met this person who accommodated to him, and he said, yeah, you are my brother's son. But at the end of the day, that was not his real uncle. The real uncle was the person he met at the stage,
beginning of the journey.
Stage, and they didn't know each other. And it was that person who gave him some little money because he didn't have money. He arrived at Port Sudan late in the evening. He didn't have money, not even for Sahan full. So he had to sit at this stage with his rucksack until this stranger, supposedly, and gave him something.
That was his real uncle, but he didn't know. They didn't know each other.
They didn't know each other. Then at the end of the story, this happened to be the
The real uncle.
Yeah, because those days there were no telephones, no means of
Pictures,
yeah, or
identification.
no Facebook, nothing.
Yeah.
And later said to travel by Toto's means. So the best was, now I think he encountered somebody who told him, but the son of your brother is there with you. Why don't you look for him? That's now when they came to meet. But the story is all about the struggles of young people who want to get their footing, who want to get a future. They want to get somewhere where they think they can make a living. Yeah.
So I think this was one of the themes that really came out in the book. And why that journal particularly? Why did you choose Port Sudan? And why was that interesting? Why did you choose Port Sudan?
Yeah, it is called Port Sudan Journal because it took place in Port Sudan. You know, if you read the story, the setting was in Port Sudan. Even the scenery, everything talks of the Red Sea, talks of this and that. Because, as I said, this is a young person who wanted to leave the country because there was a military regime in place, which was repressive. So he wanted to go outside the country. And the only gateway was through the sea.
Through Port Sudan.
Yeah,
Yes,
because you remember those days, I'm saying remember, you don't know, you were not there. I'm saying people used to star away. You get these Tanzanian, young Tanzanians, Ghanaians, towing away through ship. They hide in ships and they go to Europe. So this young man also wanted to do the same, but he never made it because you just go to the ship, and after maybe developing some friendship with the sailors, then one day you just cling on a certain spot and you are transported to Europe free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they discover you, they toss you into the sea.
To the sea.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he survived anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this was really, really interesting. And I understand there were also there were other writers that wrote.
Yeah, it was an anthology. It was the first anthology of short stories by South Sudanese writers. And two of them are medical doctors. One is Dr. David Lukudu. One is Dr. Edo Deremuga. Interesting that we have two medical doctors who are so much in love with the literature. So, and then of course we had in that anthology a short story by Professor Tabano Leong from his earlier works of fiction. That is an anthology of short stories called Fiction with X in the middle. Yeah.
And what stories are you still hoping to tell in the future? Because you've told so many stories. Your work, the White House, Matata, the journal from Port Sudan. You've told different stories touching on different themes. But what story now do you hope to tell?
Do the stories in this country end? We have a store of stories. Stories are many, and the stories are different. They need writers. So, yeah, I'm still writing. Stories don't end in this country. You find this story, you find that, because of problems. Writers write about problems. They don't write about fantasy, love stories. Even love has intrigues. So the problems of this country need to be written in fiction, in plays, and so on. So I keep writing. As I said before, writing keeps me company. It is therapy. And yeah, I keep going, eating stories. Yeah, and the stories are there. You write, you throw them there. You write until now you sift through and then say, okay, this one is ready for publishing.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Matata has a love story theme to it between Rania. Rania, who was she's an artist, she draws, she goes to the cattle camp. I think Matata was also interesting. As I was reading it, I was just thinking about why would somebody choose to live in the streets? Because I understand that he was a son of somebody. So he chose the lifestyle of living on the road. Why was that a thing when you were writing?
They wanted freedom. You know, they wanted freedom. If you read the book properly, it's fiction. Yeah, it is true. You discovered it is a true love story. And these are lovebirds who found themselves in the street. You know, this one met the other one in the museum, and it was a rainy day, and this one was asking for the other one for a lighter to light cigarette, and they bonded, and they just, because they felt that living in the street in the open sky was
Freedom to them.
freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, so they wanted to live there where nobody asks for rent, nobody bothers with you. You just live with your own tent. I mean, it's like those days of the hippies, the days of the hippies who just live in a colony, and they did whatever they wanted to do, and nobody bothered with them. They were low unto themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask about writers. How do you connect with other writers in South Sudan? Is there a point of connection between writers in South Sudan? Also, because you have been writing for a very long time, Professor Taban Loliong has been writing for a very long time. We have other politicians who are also writers. They've been writing for a very long time. As you mentioned, the Vice President, Wani Iga, also is a writer. Other politicians are also writers. Is there a point where writers and authors in South Sudan link up? Is that even important for other writers to link up? And how do you mentor the next generation of writers that are coming in South Sudan? Is there anybody that you're mentoring as well?
I have been mentored by Professor Taban Loliong for a long time, and he's the only person that we're always together, except these days when there are some challenges with him. But sometimes people just call me, oh, let us go to the rooftop. There used to be a certain restaurant in Juba here, and say, let's go to the rooftop, and he would just add, let us go and drink wine. Wine is for poets. Of course, I don't drink, and he could just drink his wine. I drink my water. We discuss literature, because he felt I was the only person that he could easily discuss literature and understand him. And it was another way of him also mentoring me, because I could ask him so many questions. And he's the only person that I know we met frequently. Other writers, we don't have a common ground where we say, okay, let us meet at this restaurant, or have a place where we can meet for coffee. Everybody is doing his own thing or her own things. It is very strange, because in capitals like Khartoum, before it was destroyed, you find journalists meeting at a certain spot for socialization, to take coffee or shisha or whatever. The Egyptian Nobel laureate Najib Mahfouz, understand he used to have a particular gahawi where he used to go for coffee every day, because that is where they used to meet. You go, you meet, and talk about film, literature, art, and so on. These are people of people who have a common interest. In this country, it is very difficult. I've heard of Association of Artists,
Yes,
or
Union of Artists. I think
Union
Association
of
of
Artists,
Union
Union
of
of
Artists.
what, Union of this and that. But I don't know where they exist. You know,
The meeting points and how they meet
they
to
don't meet.
discuss
It's just like an
future.
organization where they start this to make money, but they don't meet to discuss and to mentor each other. Yeah. So mentoring only can happen when people read your stuff and they say, okay, I think this is a good book, or this is a bad book. Because you can mentor yourself by criticizing other works and say, oh, this is not good. I want to write a better book than this. Yeah. It is very difficult in this country for people to meet. Maybe it is because of people, or they say jere jere in Juba, they call it jere jere. Excuse for not doing one thing or the other, even when you are not running for something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really think it's important to have a platform where writers can meet. I mean, like poets meet on World Poetry Day. You can maybe have rehearsals or meetings, and then for the day to happen. Also, I think for writers and authors, something like that would also be really good.
I think we are not serious, because a number of book clubs have sprung up, and as soon as they spring up, they die.
Yes.
Yeah, because there is lack of seriousness. We don't keep time. We are not serious about continuing with something. And it happens like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's typical of this country.
Yes.
Nothing lasts. Even when you start a kiosk today, come after 1 year, it is dead.
It has died.
Yeah.
We've looked for something else now.
Yeah.
I know a number of book clubs now, and I was very encouraged to see this come up in South Sudan because to see young people come together and form book clubs that they're interested in, especially women. I've seen a lot of the book clubs have a lot of women readers. It seems like women love to read a lot. I remember not long ago I had an interview on the radio station, and iRadio at the time, with a reader. She loves to read, so she challenges herself in 1 year to read 100 books. And when the story came out, people thought it was impossible. They thought it is impossible for someone to read 100 books because I think South Sudan's reading culture is really, really poor. People don't dedicate time for reading. Yeah.
I remember that story on iRadio. Actually, she's your cousin, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people thought it was very difficult. But yeah, I even asked the mother. I said, "Is it true?" They said, "Yeah." And they should really take a cue from what's her name?
Sarah.
Sarah, yeah. She's a very quiet young lady, but she, again, quiet, but she buries herself.
So, yeah, reading
Yeah.
it takes up time. You
That's
find
right. Yeah.
something that makes
So,
you busy.
people should, I thought people would run to her and say, hey, teach us the technique, the
Yeah.
trick. But did they? No. People are just busy with their own things, doing nothing, really doing nothing. So Sarah should be praised for her efforts. I don't know how many books she has read now.
This year, yes.
Yeah.
I want to ask her how far now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, we need to wake up and start coming together and have those clubs.
Yeah.
Meet for poetry reading, even read a book.
Yes.
I remember there was a time in Nairobi, they picked the book and they read it. In a complete session. I mean, just reading free. I mean, just going from page 1 up to the end. You read a few paragraphs, you pass it to another person. It went like that. 1 day, 2 days, I don't know, maybe 3 days.
Yes.
A big book. And people are just reading and listening.
Passing to the next person.
Yeah.
I think this is really nice. Actually, Sarah inspired me to be a better reader because being around someone like that really inspires you to do better. I remember she was telling me the technique to reading. She said one of the things that you have to find what you like, just like music. You have to find what is it that you're into. Are you into romance books? Are you into fiction? Are you into real life stories? Find what you like in books, and then that will encourage you to even read more. Because if you like a certain type of writing, you will follow that. So you'll find writings like that. She told me, like, for example, now her thing is African literature. But when she started reading, she was just reading randomly. But now she's into African literature. So she's reading a lot of books by Nigerian authors, by other authors that she can find. So she was telling me, just find something that you like. That is a start to being a great reader.
And contemporary African writing or literature is very easy, accessible, because they are published in Europe and they are accessible. But the generation of those of Professor Tabana Leong, their books are not there. Their books are either out of print or the publisher, of course, it was published by the Henneman Books and Henneman closed. So no other, except for books by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka. These are books that you can get them from other publishers. But it is about getting your footing on reading. Even if you just read a page, I've been telling people, if you're lazy, read a page. Then tomorrow you read, but you must be systematic. Before you go to bed, you read. Even in the toilet, you can keep if your toilet is clean, keep a book in the toilet there, in the washroom, and then while you are doing whatever you are doing, you can still read a book. Just one or half a paragraph, you can still read.
Yes.
Yeah, because time, we don't have time now. There are so many things, as I said before. We are inundated with a lot of information. We are bombarded every day with the emails, with information. So if you're reading something that is interesting, you can hide it from people, and just where you are at night before you go to sleep, you read. Yeah.
Yes.
And when you read, you grow.
Yes. In the context of our homes now, our Junubin homes where reading culture is not really encouraged. I cannot remember one household where you can come and find somebody reading. You can find somebody maybe if they have TV, they're watching TV. If not, they're playing around. I'm talking about children. They're probably playing around the compound. Like the reading culture, because in other countries I see like what we watch on TV, they buy for the children books and they take time to sit down with children and make children read books, or the reading culture is kind of encouraged. You try to teach them young. But it's not, how can we do it here in South Sudan to encourage children to read more
You
books?
buy those books, buy the if they can read, or even if they don't know how to read, but let them feel the book itself. The touch of a book. You just tell them, sit down. It is time for reading. Let them sit on a mat instead of running up and down. And children like fighting, throwing stones. That is how you tame them. You sit down, even if they just look at pictures. That's where you start reading. Then they get used to something, because when you are given something in your hands, like some of these great musicians, how did you become a musician? That I was given a guitar in my hand, and you start loving it. So if you are given a book into your hands, each time you are given, then you say, okay, I'm going to read. That's how you become a good reader.
Okay, we are approaching towards the end of today's conversation, but I would like to ask you, what's your advice on writing? What would you tell people about writing as a writer? And can you tell us maybe if you're working on something right now? Are you writing any book right now? Should we anticipate any of your writings?
No, I don't want to raise people's hopes, because in where I come from, they say you don't start talking about childbirth when the pregnancy is not even seen yet. So you wait until. Because I wouldn't want people, because people will start saying, hey, when you kitab, I'll talk and kill him. So, somebody who is writing normally writes, and you write and throw it there. You write and leave it there. Then one day you begin to say, okay, which one goes in, which one goes out? Because not everything that you write is worth sharing with the public. What goes to the public, once it is released, it's no longer in my hands. It is owned by the public. So why don't you give them something that is good? It's like cooking in a restaurant. If you know you're going to start a restaurant, you get the best cook, so that when they eat the first meal for free, then they say, there's a good restaurant there. So give them something that is good. Yeah, I'm working on some things, some poems here and there, some short stories for the time being. So I keep writing. But people should read also.
Yes.
We're not right. And I used to start by writing for myself. And the writer is the first reader of his or her works. But for how long? As I said, once I put it out to the public, it becomes the public's property. So people should also read, really should read. Reading is good.
How would you encourage people to go and read some of your work? Because now we're talking about you releasing more work, but there are people who have never read Matata, The White House, they've never read your journal on Port Sudan. How would you encourage them to go back and read some of your work now?
Well, I used to write a satirical column called The Shoeshiner. And young people who were in secondary school in those days, in the camps and all over in East Africa, they used to read it. And some of them know me by that name.
Shoeshiner.
Yeah. But I should encourage them to read the books now. They can get them online. And maybe one day, if the publisher brings some books here, they should really be encouraged to read. But
read them.
when you put the cover of this book on social media, people will write and say, "Hey, I need a copy. I need a copy. I need a copy." And sometimes, really, you may not be able to provide the copies. As I said, they are very limited. But if they can access them online, yes. But Port Sudan Journal is something that they can access
Online,
free.
yes.
Yeah, they can read it on online free. Yeah. So I encourage people to read.
And finally, I just want to ask you about some of your best work. What is the best of your best according to you? You know, there are things that people will read and come and tell you that this is your best. But according to you, when you look at your writings, all the work that you have done, what is the most that you're proud of?
You know, because they are one's creation. They are good. God does not say this one is my best and this one is not good.
God says humans are his best creation.
Yeah, when they are different, they are different. They are different. Some are Indian, some are Chinese. They are all created in God's image, and they are all good. Yeah, so these books are good. But Matata challenged me. Matata challenged me because I use kind of experimental technique, and when I started moving, and it was really traveling with me, and I felt good because now it is a book that you can open anywhere and read and get something there.
Yes.
Yeah, anywhere you open it, you will get something there. Even if you are lazy to read, just open and you will get something.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have to systematically go from here to there. Because when you find that, okay, this where you go, you get something. And you go to another page, you get something. Then you say, okay, let me just read it all. But you must take time to read it systematically, slowly. There's no hurry. Yeah.
All right. As we reach towards the end, maybe there's something that we did not touch on. Do you feel like there's something we did not touch on? Maybe you have your final message that you want to relay to people who are watching us or those who are listening to our podcast right now. What message or what would you like to talk about?
You know, young people these days, they like to anoint themselves as poets, writers, journalists, even before they can get the techniques, before they can master the techniques, because journalism, you have to really master the rules before you break them if you want to. And it is the same thing like poetry. You have to read those great poets before you become one. But all of a sudden somebody just graduated the other day from university and say, I'm a journalist, because the person was just employed the other day. Are you a journalist or a reporter? You see, this is something that sometimes people don't seem to understand. They are so much in a hurry to be what they are not supposed to be in that short time. People should work hard on what they are doing. And they should really look out for some of the veterans who have been there. Some of us learn from others, either by meeting them later in life physically or by reading their works. You know, people like Atemia Katem, people like Jacob Akol, and others. These are people who, these are the veteran journalists who did a lot of work, and we learn from them. And the same thing like the books of Tabando Leong and other African writers, as I said, before you go to Europe. So people need to read others before you can write your own your works. Because I've also seen a lot of self-publishing. That one can sometimes be very damaging because you don't have an editor. You just rush with it, you throw it there, and it comes out the way it is. They will not advise you on what should get in and what should get out. So people should associate more with people who have experience so that they can learn from others. And they should buy books. People should buy books, even if it is secondhand anywhere in Konyo Konyo or Kubra Boba. By the way, there are books in Kubra Boba, secondhand books. But people are busy buying vegetables. They don't buy those things, those books, because they are cheaper, by the way.
The books, the secondhand books.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. The story is the same. Only that is old. I mean, the cover may be torn, but the story is the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
But they can also read online.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. This has really been very informative, and I think you really spoke to something, how this generation is really rushing too much. And you've touched on many other points as well. I think many people will benefit from your wisdom and your work and the things you have done. It's really an honor to have you on the Voices and Stories podcast. And hopefully we'll have a part 2 maybe some other day, and we shall invite you on this podcast. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.